Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Monday, September 14th, 2015. And here are some of today's trends in the news. Well, it happened. We couldn't announce it until today, so now I'm making the announcement. It's official. Ralph Nader will be here on September 20th to kick off our Occupy Peace rally right here in Colonial Kingston at the most historic Four Corners in the United States. What a lineup. What a lineup. Gary Null, Dr. Robert Thurman, Cindy Sheehan, and Ralph Nader, and me. Oh, and by the way, I was on with Ron Paul today in his broadcast. I was very honored to be on with him. It's a great broadcast. Click onto it when you have some time. It's a winner. Please try to make it here. Please. At least for the rally on the 17th, on the 20th, Sunday. And if you can make the conference with Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, it's a chance of a lifetime. This is really shaping up to be something big. So go to the conference page, sign up, get here, but please make the rally. Ralph Nader will be here. That's big news. And on to some other news over there in Asia. Markets didn't open up too well. Shanghai down almost 3%. Nikkei down, Hang Seng up a little bit. Markets are up across Europe and then mixed. And here in the States, down about 60. And gold, boop, up a little bit. But the big news, of course, well, not the big news, but news to look at, is what's going on with commodity prices. Copper got whacked big time. There's almost an equilibrium shaping up in the oil markets. You look what happened to Mr. Brent crude. He's sinking to the levels of West Texas. That's pretty important. It's down to like 46. West Texas is 44. This is it's a big story. And over the weekend in the Financial Times, there was a big story. Cheap oil slams brakes on U.S. shale. Production of U.S. shale will fall sharply next year as a result of the collapse of crude prices, the world's leading energy forecaster said yesterday, in a sign that Saudi Arabia's attempt to squeeze higher-cost producers out of the market is succeeding. The prediction was made by the International Energy Agency in its closely watched monthly oil report. So, there you got it. The agency said oil production outside OPEC would fall by 500,000 barrels a day next year, the largest drop since the collapse of the Soviet Union. U.S. shale oil will account for about 80% of that fall. The International Energy Agency said, quote, oil's price collapse is closing down high-cost production from Eagle Ford in Texas to Russia and the North Sea. It's Norway, right? Yeah. This is big. It's big because it goes back to all of that money in junk bonds, about 15% of them related to oil. Interesting story down below. Art of Communist Party propaganda sees, quote, bright economic future in China. The focus for the month of September will be to strengthen economic propaganda and promoting the discourse on China's bright economic future and the superiority of China's system. That's straight out of the party's propaganda department. They grabbed this email, and it comes from the Chinese Communist Party. So there you see it right there. That brightest future, this is going on to the Financial Times, is a picture that has been clouded by bleak economic data and plunging shares. Turmoil in China, exacerbated by the renminbi devaluation last month, unleashed a global stock market rout. That's not true. The stock market rout was in play before the devaluation on August 11th. That is the way you spin stories and leave people with the wrong impression. So China's doing kind of like what they do on CNBC. Yeah. Well, Bloomberg keeps selling the BS. Everyone, by the way, is now saying what I said when it happened. This is no recovery, it's a cover-up. Now everyone is admitting to it. Growth in China fell short of forecasts in August. Growth in China's investment and factory output missed forecasts in August, indicating a future cooling in the country's economy that is likely to prompt the government to roll out more supportive measures. Supportive measures, yeah. Help the gamblers. Keep the Ponzi scheme alive. We'll call it supportive measures rather than rigging the markets. China's slowdown drags on Germany, Inc. This is out of today's Financial Times. You look at the numbers here. Expanded 11% last year, Germany's exports to China. This year they increased by a modest 1.4%. And you're looking at German machinery exports to China fell 5% in the first half of 2015. You look at the auto sales. BMW enjoyed 45% growth compounded annual sales rate in China. And now, of course, it ain't like that anymore. At VW, Germany's largest company by revenues, China accounted for almost 40% of its car sales. But now they're way down. So you can see what this is doing. It's global. Franklin Templeton hit by record fund outflows. Analysts are slicing their earnings forecast for Franklin Templeton as the U.S. asset management group wrestles with some of the worst outflows from its mutual funds in history. This is a huge firm. Stock sell-offs reveal economic fault lines. This is an important story. It's in today's Financial Times and other media. The sell-offs rocking equity markets reflect the release of pressure accumulated along major fault lines. This is according to the Bank of International Settlements. And it warned that investors should not expect central banks to solve such deep-rooted problems. These are not investors. Let's stop with that bullshit language. These are hedge funds. These are these high-risk traders with a T. These are not markets where you trade on value anymore. They're rigged markets. You read this story, it's everything that I said years ago. A growing number of investors, gamblers, believe the Fed is likely to wait until the autumn before pulling the trigger on raising rates. Still, policymakers across the developing world are bracing themselves for the possibility that such momentous move will prompt flights of capital and steep currency devaluations. Across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, the BIS, this Bank of International Settlements, believes the problems facing emerging markets are partly a consequence of the ultra-low borrowing costs that have prevailed since the crisis. Quote, "It is unrealistic and dangerous to expect monetary policy to cure all the global economy's ills. It's what I've been saying for years now. Everyone's admitted that all of this is done, all of this cheap money is propped up the phony equity markets. Because household debt soars in Canada, a record high in the second quarter. As their economy goes into recession, you think they're going to be facing problems? Remember, when all else fails, they take you to war. This is failing across the boards. The pessimism is building. The volatility is like nothing I saw in my lifetime that happened during this summer, and it's only going to get worse because they propped up the markets, and here it is again. Record year in sight after weeks, $50 billion in merger and acquisition deals. That's it. Don't need to read no more. Well, I will. With more than $3 trillion worth of transactions agreed since January, the highest total since 2007, this year is on track to be the best for mergers and acquisitions. It's a rigged game, and only the rich are benefiting from it. And it's a dirty deal game. Spotlights turn to possible rigging of Treasury market. Tiny little story. Possible rigging of Treasury market. U.S. investigators into potential rigging of various benchmark rates are now turning to the $12 trillion Treasury market, which has drawn the scrutiny of New York's banking regulator. You know what that is.
That was bullshit.
It's bullshit. They only go after us and bust our chops for the littlest thing, and the white shoe boys get a free ride. City bosses flouted rules, ex-trader says. A former Citigroup currency dealer has revealed what he claims were commonplace underhand trading practices at the bank before he was fired in 2014, alleging at an employment tribunal in London that senior staff deliberately flouted its code of conduct. No kidding. Oh no, nobody at the top knew. It was only the little guys that were in control of these major banks. Nothing will happen. Nothing. This thing, here, one of the top trends that we wrote about for 2015, price wars. Here is, over the weekend, a full-page ad in the New York Times. Late-breaking specials. 50 to 80% off. 50 to 80% off store-wide Macy's. Yeah. I remember when there were two Macy's. One in Yonkers and one down in Herald Square in the city. And now they bought up everybody. Remember, the multinationals have very, very thin profit margins. You're going to see a lot of big problems develop. And of course, the wars keep going on. Two stories here. Front page, New York Times. Front page, Wall Street Journal. Syrian and Afghan refugees swam toward Greek island of Lesbos on Sunday after the dinghy they were in deflated. Similar story here. Afghan and Syria. Yeah. Wonder who caused these problems. Nobody talks about it. But here's one. Obama talks with troops. Covers Syria and China. Quote, as long as Assad is here, he has alienated so much of the Syrian population that it will be not possible to arrive at a peaceful ceasefire and political settlement, and you'll continue to have a vacuum that's filled with extremists. Mr. Obama said, the traitor to America, Mr. Obama said, Assad must go. Clinton said, Assad must go. Obama said, he is the person and the other mad people behind him that have given them rebels with a cause to destabilize this region, and they have the nerve to put this out there. Who will fill the vacuum? I guess the same people, Obama, that filled the vacuum in Libya. Yeah, you remember that one? Or did you forget it between rounds of golf, shooting pool and playing basketball and lying to us like you do virtually every day? Who filled the vacuum, Obama, with that wonderful humanitarian mission? Samantha Powers, Susan Rice, and Hillary Clinton? Yeah, the same people that are filling the vacuum that you're supporting in Syria. The murderous, crazy people, the rebels that you love to support to murder others. Remember, Occupy Peace this Sunday. We're making history. Be here for it. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.